Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to my business educational platform. I hope you understood the previous concepts regarding introduction to business finance. Today I am going to discuss about what is bond, types of bonds, characteristics of bonds, legal aspects of bonds, and how the bond ratings is being done and who make the bond ratings, the bonds valuation, yields on the bonds, which include the yield to maturity and yield to call, and the current yields. Some of the topics will be discussed today and the remaining topics will be covered in our next lecture. So what is the bond? A bond is a long-term debt instrument issued by a corporation or government. So remember, when we discuss about the ways of the finances, we discuss about the bonds and the stocks. So companies take the finances using the bonds. In bonds, the companies provide the interest rates, some fixed payments, and the stocks, where the companies provide the returns and the capital gains to the investors. So basically, a bond is a long-term contract under which borrowers agrees to make payments of interest and principal on specific dates to the bondholder. So the borrower will be agree to make the payments of interest and principal on specific dates to the bondholder, the one who will purchase the bonds. So there exist certain types of bonds which include the treasury bonds. Treasury bonds are issued by the government. They have no default risk. They are risk free, but there will be the default risk. So what is the default risk? It cannot be overcome without taking certain factors. It cannot be overcome. So there exists the default risk, like it cannot be made. The default risk cannot be made. So suppose a company become bankrupt, it will be facing the default risk. But in trade bonds there is no default risk. But there will be certain type of risks, as there is no any bond that have zero risk, but there will be no default risk. And there exists the corporate bonds. These bonds are issued by the corporations and they are exposed to default risk. And what is the default risk? If the company is unable to pay its payment to the bondholders or stockholders, then it is supposed to be in a default risk. Then we have the municipal bonds. These bonds are issued by state or local government. It has default risk and low interest rate. Then we have the foreign bonds. They have the default risk and they have also the currency risk, as there exists the currency fluctuations, like certain on some dates we see the appreciation of our currency, and on some dates we see depreciation of our currency. So this is how there exists the currency risk as well. In foreign bonds we have the currency risk as well. So before purchasing or making investment decisions into the bonds, from individual point of view we must consider these things, and from the company's point of view, companies must consider these things in order to pay returns and in order to get certain finances. So what are the characteristics of bond? The bonds coupon rate is the stated rate of interest. So firstly there will be the coupon rate. It is the stated rate of interest. So suppose you are purchasing a bond and there will be the interest rate of suppose 15%, then it will be the coupon rate. Then we have the maturity value. It is the value that will be paid when the bonds get its maturity. Suppose the bond is for 3 years. If 3 years will be completed, then it will get certain maturity value. Par value or face value of a bond is a stated value. It represents the amount of money the firm borrowers promises to repay on maturity date, when the bonds will become at its maturity. Then we have the discount rate. It is the required rate of return. It is dependent on the risk of the bond and is composed of risk-free rate plus risk premium. So the discount rate will be risk-free and there will be the discount risk and risk premium as well. So I hope you understood the components of bonds. Now we are seeing the characteristics, and there exists the maturity date. Maturity date is the date when the bonds have a specified maturity date on which the par value be paid. Then exists the certain provisions to call or redeem bonds. So what are these provisions? Companies have to issue the bonds in order to get the finances. So in order to attract the customers or the investors, they must provide certain provisions to call or redeem options to the bondholders. So what is the call price? Call price is the call price when the bond will be called before the maturity date. Suppose the bond is for 3 years, and if companies call back the bonds due to any reason after 1 year, then it will have to pay certain call price. Then it also have to pay the call premium, as the companies demanding their bonds back before the maturity, then it has to pay certain call premium. Then we have deferred call and call protection. So company may provide the deferred call and call protection of offers to the bondholders. So what is the deferred call? Deferred call is that the company will not call back its bonds. Then we have the call redemption. And companies also provide convertible bonds as well. They will be easily converted into the stocks, short-term stock or the long-term stocks. Then bonds with the purchase warrants, they have certain warranties as well. Then there exists the income bonds. So these are certain characteristics of bonds. I hope you understood all of these. Then we have what are the types of bonds. There exist certain types of bonds, like we have non-zero coupon paying bond, which is also known as discount bond. Is a coupon bond paying with a finite life, and there is a zero bond is bond that pays no interest but sells at a deep discount from its face value. It's known as discount bond, and the non-zero bond is known as a coupon paying with a finite life, which it has certain defined life. Then there exists the legal aspects of bonds. So what are the legal aspects of bonds? There exists the indenture. Indenture is the document which contains all the rules and regulations which will be associated with the bonds. Like in indenture, there will be call offers. If the company is supposed to call, then there will be certain feature the documentary mentioned that we will call back, and the provision is available. Then trustee is something, if the rules are not being followed, then trustee will be responsible for that. So then we are moving forward to the bond ratings. Bonds are given rating to reflect their probability of going to default. If the bonds will be rated as D, they are supposed to be in default. If bonds are as per double C or triple C rating, then they are known as speculative or high risky bonds. If their bonds are rated as A or triple A, then they are investment grade bonds, and there must be an investments.